So here at Small Talk, Bartender the CEO channel, I'm getting a chance to showcase some of the relationships I've had the opportunity, been blessed to come across. One of those is my guy, Herwig.
What's going on, man?
Doing amazing. How you
Good
doing?
to see you, always, yeah.
Dude, man,
Thanks for coming to Miami.
This is my second home. And when I'm in Houston, sometimes I talk bad upon Miami, but really it's been nothing but good to me, especially if you take Miami in moderation. Would you agree?
It's a better way to do it. I've seen a lot of people get burnt out, chewed up and spit out, let's say. But, I think you can handle it.
And if you're gonna live in Miami, you just have to pay the premium to stay in the spaces that are right next to where you want to be.
Kinda.
Because if you are having to get in the car, it can take you 20 minutes to go 2 miles.
It is true.
But I want to dive deep into what you've been doing out here, what you've been building out here. So I, Bartender the CEO, came out to Miami to open up a restaurant. As I was opening that restaurant, COVID hit. I found myself with a lot of free time. That's when I started getting into working out, fitness, started throwing fitness workout groups, beach volleyball. That's where I started making videos. Then that's when I had a chance to come across Herwig here, who has his media company. And he ended up bringing me on, teaching me a lot about not only the process of media, but a little bit about the niche that you're in, which is a very specific niche. And you've been able to build an online brand within this specific niche. It's not some massive mega influencer, but because you are really dominating this niche, you are an influencer within this niche. Go ahead and give us a quick synopsis for the people who are outside of that world.
So I have a very kind of like weird story. Out of college, I had started a compliance company for basically online fundraising platforms. So these are like big corporations or sort of finance, banking, investment banking type platforms that are looking to bring the process of raising money for businesses online. And I created a compliance company to kind of service those. PSA, I am not a lawyer, but I had to kind of learn and be scrappy and really get the understanding of what the rule of law is when it comes to capital markets, right? This finance activity of raising money and all that. And that gave me a really good grounding when I kind of got bored of compliance and did the opposite and got into crypto. So crypto was actually, something that I had been, I touched in college even, and kind of became a hobbyist in 2015 before it was cool.
You make some money off of it?
I did make a little bit of change. Not enough to be like, all right, I'm going to the beach to retire. But definitely enough to see the future, kind of like not just sort of be happy about the gains, right, as they say, but also like, wow, this is transforming markets. We're talking about having created, kind of monopoly money or digital assets that are not backed by anything at all in the real world, like traditional finance with stocks or real estate or whatever it is, right? So that was really, really interesting. But that is what actually got me to kind of see the vision from my previous business of like, hey, well, what if we merge the two, right? We have this concept of tokenizing things, right? Putting a blockchain-based token, right? Like we've seen, you may have heard of, Ethereum, even Bitcoin, right, is a blockchain-based token, Ripple and Solana and other, platforms, protocols that allow you to tokenize, right, and offer meme coins or NFTs or other use cases. And one of those niche use cases that you're talking about is the tokenization of finance. And I don't think it's so niche at all. I think it's actually going to take over all of crypto, and I think it's going to take over all of finance, which is the idea that we can use blockchain as an operating system for finance. Today, it's awful. It's like coming from like the 1970s. It's like kind of had band-aids and some fixes with the internet and some kind of user experience on the front end fixes. But on the back end, man, oh my Lord, it gets worse and worse and worse. And actually, back in the 1960s, there was the great paper crisis on Wall Street. It doesn't actually seem that long ago, but we were using paper to move around shares. And then there was just so much everywhere. It took them 3 days. They had to stop everything to be like, we got to sort everything out. Yeah. This guy owes this guy, and then blah, 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 right? So they started going digital and started going to figure out how we can move into better systems, and now we are at a next crux where we're going to move into a new system, one that is digital, that's accessible, democratized, right? It's global, it's on your phone, and it allows you to seamlessly, almost instantly, go into different products, right? As I send you a Bitcoin, imagine I could now send you some shares in Apple.
So you pretty much touched on a lot of this industry in its entirety. Go ahead and tell me, because there are a lot of players in the tokenization industry. What is your specific role in the tokenization industry, you and your company, Security Token Market?
So I talked about the tokenization platforms that help people put assets on chain. There's the blockchains. There's even the marketplaces where you can go and trade them. Like think about Coinbase or Robinhood, but now for security tokens, for real world assets, as they call them. Well, in order for you to go trade all these things, you need information, right, John? Like you need to know what is the blockchain asset? Where does it trade? What is it backing it, for example? Is it a stock? Is it real estate? Is it gold? What is it backing, right? And we provide all that information to the market so that they can easily get in and start making trades. So for example, you may be brand new to this space. Well, you might want to go to stm.co, our website, so that you can see, here are all the assets. Wow, the St. Regis in Aspen is tokenized. Maybe I'll go buy that. Oh wow, there's a bond over here by this bank that anybody can buy. I'm gonna go buy some of that. Or what's very popular right now are these sort of yield coins. Imagine, bank accounts don't give you any money. Why don't you go put it in like a treasury bill basically, and this thing is instantly giving you some money, consistently, as opposed to just sitting in a bank, and you can convert it back into cash very easily. These are new functions of finance that you want to learn about. You're going to come to our website. So we provide media and we track all of the activity in the market.
Wow, man. And you're a young guy, and it seems like a very important company. Go for it.
I hope so. We're trying to build something pretty big. We are, I believe, entering a new era of finance that everybody is going to be subscribing to, let's say, in the future, right? Whether you like it or not, potentially. You might see a lot of this blockchain technology going on in the background, or you're using your app or whatever, not even realizing that the fact that you just got a loan instantly is because it's tokenized, right? But everybody's going to deal with this, and if you look at some of the biggest players in the space in finance today, like Bloomberg, right, Yahoo Finance, there's other data companies that are very, very multi-billion-dollar worth value. So what we're doing is doing that, but even on, to me, a bigger scale. Right now, it's not that many assets, thousands of products, to cover. But in the future, we're talking about every market in the world, for every single asset class around the world, basically everything tracking, not just public markets, not just private markets, not just commodities, not just bonds, not just credit, everything.
How did you get the money to build this company, Herwig? You need to be honest with us.
It was not easy. So I raised money for my first company, and it took like first 3 years for us to raise money, and then it was like $100,000 total, which was like a huge sum of money back then for me. It's like, oh my God, this is gonna take us so far. And that was like it. Basically I had to bootstrap and keep that business completely, off of fundamentals, right? Keep the business alive because you got no outside money coming in. I was able to start this business actually kind of organically because I was asked, due to myself being kind of in the space already in crypto, and because of my existing company, an existing facial recognition startup here in Miami approached me and said, hey, can you help us figure out how to do this tokenization stuff? Well, they really wanted to do an ICO, and I told them don't. The SEC ended up suing a lot of people for that, but I told them here's how you can do it the right way, by tokenizing your actual company. And the rest was history. They paid me to do that. It was a very successful offer, and I saw the writing on the wall of like, this is a great consulting business, and never looked back.
And that's one of the core tenets of this episode right here is a small talk. These opportunities where we get to get in these situations that allow us to create a solution we might not have even created before, which leapfrog us into a new visionary mission.
Yeah, it's one of those things that circles back to your original point about sort of Miami and your questioning there. Because if, say, I was in Silicon Valley or in New York, the answer would have been, hey, I'm going to go knock on doors to try to raise money all the time. But In Miami, that's not really the mentality. The mentality here is you need to build a fundamental business that's profitable and can generate money, and more of like a real estate kind of approach of pays a dividend type thing. So that's what investors are used to down here. So it isn't really the idea of, hey, I can go raise an unlimited amount of money from VCs.
With a napkin idea.
Yeah, exactly. Like you have to make a good business out here to survive.
And I know with you working with the AI facial recognition company, that gave you almost a proof of concept of what the future could be. And I know you also were throwing venture capital networking events too.
That's right.
So I know go ahead and describe that collision of this new visionary idea along with this networking platform you was building.
So, between the business that I told you about, the compliance company, I started in college actually. It's Invest Ready is what it's called. After I graduated, I kind of felt like I always had two jobs. I was a student and I had my business Invest Ready. So when I lost the sort of need to like be a student anymore, I kind of felt like I had a little bit of free time. And I had decided to use that free time to basically help develop Miami's startup ecosystem. Because again, this was back then, Miami was just on the map of like, hey, we want to be a startup ecosystem. You could count the number of people that are like in the ecosystem trying to build it right on your hand. It was very, very small. And so I wanted to kind of help see that grow because I chose to, make the city my home. Venture capital, like we were just talking about, was one of those things that was really missing, which is crazy when you think about it, because Miami is loaded with very, very wealthy people, like left and right? There's flashy cars, big houses, boats everywhere. Like you would think we could translate some of that into some venture capital dollars, but that's not quite how it worked. There's a lot of education that's necessary for a lot of these individuals that live out here because they've never invested in a startup before, right? So it was kind of combining whoever was doing some kind of deal investing, right? Oh, this guy's an angel investor, or maybe this guy's a private equity guy that looks at some venture deals, or this very wealthy real estate guy that's really interested in getting into VC, and basically formed a group of these people, started doing happy hours. I was fortunate to work with a guy named Brian Bernstein, who was kind of like a mentor to me to kind of really teach what I call the buy side, right? As an entrepreneur, everything's starry-eyed and it's great. You want to change the world. Not when you're a VC. When you're a VC, you have a business, and that business is to make money off of their investment in you and pay back the investors that they raise money from to deploy into you. It's a very different way of looking at the game or the business of startups, right? So I really had a great time building out this venture community to learn the buy side, make a lot of great relationships with a lot of great investors. I actually ended up raising some money from some of them for this new business, security token market, STM. That's again one of those kind of small, big fish, small pond type of opportunities. It's like it would be much, much more difficult to do in New York or the Valley or anywhere else, because a lot of these things are already established or attempted, or wasn't really as much as a need as there was here in Miami.
I mean, you being here situated, I think that helps out a lot. It goes to show when you're in a city for 5 to 10 years, how those relationships start compounding. You start seeing the people have an idea, that idea comes to fruition, and now you guys are at a point of potential collaboration. But I know now you have transitioned into events again, with you hosting your first conference for Tokenized This. I think it was virtual in 2023.
That's
you
right.
guys went live 2024. In 2025, you guys have big plans of even taking this outside of Miami. So go ahead, touch on what was the lessons you learned in the 2023 and 2024 Tokenized This conference shirt he's wearing right now.
That's right. I'm actually wearing it right now. No, this is a lot of fun, honestly. As you know, I kind of like hosting, and I was doing a lot of events with MVCA and even some crypto stuff here and there. So this was kind of like natural. Because what I realized was the industry, what we're talking about with tokenization, was really missing and deserved a dedicated industry conference. So what was happening was, whether you're looking at it kind of like at a fintech conference, which was even less the case, you might have a panel, here and there on tokenization, or if you have a crypto conference, it's 80 90% crypto, and you might have 1 or 2 panels or keynote related topics on tokenization, right? So it's never the main event. So that's why we put Tokenize this together, to say, you know what, this industry needs a main event. And I think we were able to validate that first virtually by saying, all right, let's just see if people even want to tap into this content if we decide to put together what then was 3 days of speakers, literally around, again, the tokenization, hearing from the blockchains, hearing from the bankers, hearing from the people who have done it, hearing from the lawyers, hearing from everybody involved in sort of making this possible.
People who you had the chance to already know by building out this industry from the get-go.
For
So
years.
this is your network anyway.
Just easy to say, hey, do you mind tapping in for a little panel here and there? So we had thousands of people tune in for the live stream, and even sold a few, virtual sponsors. So that was like, all right, this is great. This is the validation we needed to now try it out for real, and host a big conference, which I'd never done for the first time, and didn't really have any interest in hiring a agency or anything like that, because frankly, that's another middleman cost. And one, we wanted to learn this business, and two, in the blockchain business, we don't like middlemen. So needless to say, we just, me and my team, Jason's huge shout out, just went at it and put it together. You saw it came together. And we had 500 people all in over 2 days, 3 days with the workshop, show up to Miami from all over the world as well as locally, and did the same thing in person. Tons of amazing networking. That was obviously missing from the virtual element, where I was like, wow, we saw deals getting done. People were chatting it up. People telling me like, man, I would love to go talk to this guy, but I really want to go listen to the next panel. That's a champagne problem right there.
That was one of the things. I was at the conference, I'm watching the handshakes happening, because I've had an opportunity to work with security token market, so I know some of the faces, and seeing these other companies get a chance to shake hands with other companies, it's like, I just can't wait to see the deal lineage, was the word I used. Like 3 or 4 months from now, what's going to happen as a result of this conference just launching all these relationships.
And it's honestly, it's an electric atmosphere, because everybody's there for the same reason, and that doesn't exist in the crypto conferences, right? Or anywhere else. It was always like, oh yeah, you also like this, you're also kind of into this. No, this was everybody here who basically believes that trillions of dollars of assets are
compatible players,
blockchain, compatible players, key players, even big incumbents. We had J.P. Morgan, Franklin Templeton, the DTCC, which is actually the plumbing behind quadrillions of settlements a year in the markets around the world. So. It was a great conference, but we realized, Miami is awesome. We love Miami. We wanted to play it safe, close to home, make our lives easy. But New York's where it's at. It's Wall Street. We got to go knock on the door of the existing infrastructure and tell them, yo, pull up, come to tokenize this. We want to tokenize Wall Street. And we're going to have a lot of great keynotes and panels, again, around all of the different components between what we're really talking about, which is going from an accounts-based system to a wallet-based system. This idea that you don't live as a customer in one bank here, or even in a part of a bank or a service provider, a financial institution. Sometimes you have to sign up multiple times in just one, right? This idea that now I have a wallet, a mailbox that you can send assets to, and I control them, right? I don't have to ask your permission, broker or whoever, to do this or that. It's no, I see my token, it's in my wallet. John, I want to send this to you right now. I am in full control to do that. And if that product has some yield, a dividend to send out, that's going straight to your wallet now. There is no complication. It's all automatic record keeping and updating. It's a beautiful, beautiful system. It's the future that's here today. And we just need to bring the existing infrastructure on chain to see it all become a reality.
Yeah. Anytime you're with this guy, you start drinking the Kool-Aid. You're really good about giving out the Kool-Aid.
Sorry, yeah, about New York. So we got to be in New York.
But New York, that's a big jump. It's a huge jump. And you just can't go out there on hopes and dreams. You have to have some factual information that is driving you out there besides the presence of Wall Street. Now, I know when I was working with you, we had a lot of interest on the phone calls, and I know that could be quantitatively measured in some interest. Even with the conference that you had here physically, did you feel like a lot of New Yorkers would have came had it been more convenient for them?
We definitely had quite a few of them pull up, and we definitely have had quite a few people say they're a little disappointed to see it leave Miami, let's say the least. But
Miamians or other people
no,
who want
even other people who love the idea of Miami. But yes, we did get validation from just talking to the industry. Like, okay, getting a approval to go to New York is easier than Miami. Most of them already live in New York, so going for even a day or two is easier than making the trip where you're fully committed, right, to the conference, right? So we know that the most important thing today is education, really. It's about getting all of these key executives or just people, who are interested in investing all together to understand this is the new operating system, as I said. This is the new future of finance to hop on. And so, to make it as easy as possible for the industry is the obvious answer, and that's why New York, again, being the heart of Wall Street and hearing it from our partners that, and by the way, not just partners, speakers, right? Like, in order to get critical speakers, it's much easier to get them to show up if they're already in New York versus now I gotta, first of all, I don't mind paying for a flight for them, but they also now gotta sign up to travel to this event and go in, and not all of them like to stick around for the whole day. They like to show up, do their panel, and get back to their day. So it's a big ask. So New York, for all of those factors, just said, you know what, it's time to make it what I call our breakout year. We're hopefully going to have over 750 to 1,000 people show up, to talk about tokenization, and from there, sky's the limit to grow.
Would past the conference, what is 2025? What's the next big plan? Because that's in April.
That's in April. It's not too far away now.
So we still got two and a half more quarters left after that.
You can go check out stm.co to get out all the latest information around our events, around the market, our media, our reports and research. But the next big thing that I'm super excited about is we've been working for a long time in sort of the background and stealth on our new platform. Okay, so I launched this website back in October 2018. That was a long time ago. Anything pre-COVID these days is like a different era.
Right.
So it's due for not just a polish, but a actual much needed back-end architecture upgrade, right? Because again, we're talking about tracking eventually trillions of different assets that could have all kinds of activity, traded here, transferred here, put into a vault or staked or collateralized, if you will, here. There's all kinds of on-chain activity that can happen, and we want to be able to visualize it for our customers as easy as possible and track it all, right? And have it all in one place so that you never have to go anywhere else. So that's a huge, tall order. So we've been working hard to release that and get that out and shipped. So you'll hopefully see more news about that very soon. But then there is another project that we're very excited about where, what I'm talking about is universal, right? Everybody should and will one day take advantage of this technology, really whether they like it or not. There's a regulator in Thailand that is now already introducing their own blockchain for capital markets participants to use. Like, regulators might one day require this. So this is the future. And whether, even you're an American, or whether you're in Cambodia, or whether you're in Belgium, or whether you're in Venezuela or whatever, right? Or, well, actually, it depends on some of the sanction lists on where you want to participate. But ultimately, the idea is about democratizing, access to finance all around the world. So this is really universal. But this movement ultimately stemmed from crypto, right? This is another application of blockchain, of crypto technology. So there are crypto natives who are on the bleeding edge that are, to me, they're more advanced than what JP Morgan CEO, BlackRock CEO, some of the biggest banks and asset managers in the world. These guys have no clue about some of these retail investors, about what's possible with, wow, they're buying treasuries over here, they're putting them in a loan over here, they're instantly transferring it over here, and doing all these crazy things that are more advanced than certainly the most average participant, even in America. But we're talking again about just the future of finance. So it's a really exciting opportunity, I think, for crypto natives to not just say, hey, here's a meme coin, but but to say, hey, how do I get into tokenized real estate? How do I get into tokenized gold? How do I buy Apple shares? How do I do this and do the same things that they're used to, but now with products that come from the real world? That's really the only difference. So we're launching an organization, John, around that called the RWA Foundation. It's a crypto native organization to bring everybody together and help support the adoption of this industry and launch a DAO. That's called a decentralized autonomous organization. Fancy way of just saying, this is an organization that we're going to run using a token. And that DAO is designed to give perks to people who participate in this ecosystem, education, resources, even airdrops to this technology itself. So now you own sort of a piece of the technology, right? We're looking to do everything we can to kind of build the largest community of crypto natives and really anyone focused and in love with RWAs as much as we are.
And they're on the cutting edge out here, Miami. They move fast. There's capitalistic innovation happening from a survival standpoint out here, so you can trust that they're getting it done. I mean, in fact, I actually have pieces of tokenized houses out here in Miami that I bought years ago. I was able to get in for like $25 a share that actually owns this house and send me emails right now asking, they're polling us, seeing how we feel about house maintenance upgrades, how we feel about raising the rent. And so there's hundreds of people who own a collection of these houses and they're all pitching in on these ideas. So when he says democratization, that's what he means. Because, they say millennials won't own a house right now based on the economy. But
the biggest real estate folks in the world, like Blackstone, what you just said, mind-blowing to them. The idea that there is a collective of owners behind a property that is being rented out by somebody else and now being managed in this way, it's crazy. It's the future, though.
Well, big things happening out here. I had to bring on Small Talk because I bring up your name out there a lot, and a lot of times there's a reference to some of the skill sets that I have right now. It's been a pleasure. Looking out, tokenize this 2025.
Sorry for not keeping it so small talk, but happy tokenizing, everybody.
Big talk.
Big talk.